Basically, Jason, you're talking about building a new FAANG. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Hope everybody's safe. Yeah.
So talk about what you're switching out, what you're switching in.
Yeah, I think looking at the public markets, one thing is becoming clear. There, with 15 million Robinhood traders out there, and full disclosure, we were an angel investor in that company as well. So that's a yum for us when that one goes out. Every rock is being turned over here, and people are pretty enthusiastic about public equities. And you've got this whole new cohort of people buying stocks. And so it's very hard to look for value, I think, in the market. And especially with this unknown of what this recovery will be like, unemployment, and what earnings will look like, over the last quarter. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty here. So it's a very hard exercise to look at maybe who's up next. And a lot of them have already had massive acceleration. Slack, Peloton, and Zoom are companies and products that are just transcendent. And I don't see a world where those companies and, Uber and Tesla, which are also very highly valued, I think. And I wish there's more upside in all of those companies, but even the management of those companies have said, these are fully valued stocks. I don't see a world in which Tesla, Uber, Peloton, Zoom, and Slack are not bigger companies, more important companies a decade or two from now. That's how I like to invest. I know there's a lot of people who like to invest in an app and trade. But I do think that those are, particularly impressive companies to me, especially in light of what we saw with antitrust and people talking about, hey, it's too hard to compete, because we're seeing examples of companies that are competing really well.
And still under scrutiny. I wonder how you're stripping out or trying to minimize liability that some of these companies may have if we get really reliable therapeutics and a vaccine in the medium term, right? Which we hope we do.
Yeah, I mean, I am an optimist. I mean, you have to be if you're an early stage investor and you're putting money into companies like Robinhood and Uber before they even have products in market or it's very early. And, it's great to see that the president solved the coronavirus last week. But I do think we have a long way to go when it's solved for everybody else. But the rapid testing to me seems like the game changer, and tracing seems like a game changer. And we just have had a failure of leadership, and let's leave politics on the side. I know it's very hard to do, but there's been a complete failure of leadership of getting those two things up and running in this country, from local all the way to federal. Everybody's a complete failure at testing and tracing. If you take out your iPhone right now and you search in your settings for COVID, you'll see we have tracing on the phone, but we don't have any apps. You have to connect it to an app. So the fact that we don't have a federal app where everybody can check in if they opt into it and do this tracing is just criminal in my mind. It might wind up eventually being criminal when we look back on this time period. So I think it's just a complete failure of leadership. If leadership changes, we might actually be able to get testing out there in a major way and then solve this problem. I agree.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.